Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today, I'd like to speak on the topic of trading your time for money. Now, this is an interesting topic because as we get older, we're conditioned that we have to basically get a job, get better skills so that way we are able to produce a service that a company or a large corporation will look at us and be like, hey, let's pay that person X amount of money for what they can do in this market. Or hey, let's give them that hourly rate, right? Trading your time for money. Now, if you haven't come to realize it, we only got 24 hours a day. And some people will question that, right? I've definitely seen some people stretch their days or stretch their hours, and it's crazy. But what I'm trying to get at here is that you're going to want to get to a point in life where you value your time. And when I look at individuals that are so unhappy of what they're doing with their life, or they're like, I'm just can't wait to get to the weekend. I can't wait to get to that day, or can't wait for this or that. I feel as if they're just like so unhappy with their lives, of what they're doing. And it really makes sense, right? Because they don't value their time enough to get their skills and their income to where they'd like it to be. And what I start to question is, like, if you are so unhappy, you need to find a skill, or you need to find a business model that can definitely benefit you in producing more, right? If you want to be able to make X amount of money, or be able to have time freedom, travel, retire your parents, do whatever you want with your time, you will have to produce a business that you can exit out of, and you don't have to be there, and it can run itself passively. So you don't have to be there. You can be off the clock. You can be wherever you want, or maybe a product that's selling itself, that can push itself naturally, and you don't have to be in that equation. That's the beautiful part, is whenever you start to build out a business, it gets to a point, if it's a good business, you can exit that business and it'll still run perfectly like a well-oiled machine. I remember vividly when I was like, I'm not doing the right thing here. There's something different. There's something wrong in my head. I'm missing some information, some component in my brain. It just ticked when I was working at a large bank, and I was in the call center, and I was a frontline employee for these calls. So it was random. I was averaging anywhere between 60 to 100 calls daily. So it got very repetitive, things of that nature. There's some one-offs, and there were some clients that, they got a little bit brave on the calls. They definitely thought, because I'm on a phone, they couldn't, they could talk to me whatever way they wanted. Check that really quickly, but I go off. So I took a phone call from an individual. I verified who they were, and immediately what was different about this call was that it started off with another bank, Wells Fargo. It was their private banking office, I guess. I did the verification. I made sure it was okay for me to speak to that person. I verified the caller and whatnot. And the issue of the call is what they were calling me was because they were missing a wire. And I was like, oh, okay, great. I went through the account procedures, opened up the account. Before I take that back, before I even opened the account, right? I always, I try to empathize with the client, because I don't know where they're at in their headspace. I've talked to hundreds of clients that day, and I always try to level with the client. That way it makes them know that, hey, I'm going to take care of you on this call. So anyways, I'm like, hey, by the way, how much is this wire? In the most casual voice one could say it, he said, $4 million. My jaw hit the floor. I looked up to the ceiling, and I was like, oh, you're missing. I didn't say this, but I was like, oh, you're missing this much amount in my head, right? Because for any regular person that doesn't value their time enough, that's life-changing money. This is an income or a wealth level that could put your life in a whole different spectrum, and a whole different wavelength, right? In a whole different class. But this individual had built up his business in a way that he was able to move around money. And not only that, just talk to us so non-casually, like it's just like it's $40 in his bank account. At that moment, I knew there's something wrong. There's something wrong. I'm trading my time for $26.92 an hour, which is pretty good in that state. But I'm trading my time for money, and this individual's over here is moving around money like it's numbers on a screen. I was like, okay. I need to figure out what's going on here. So after that call, I ended the call, whatnot, got that figured out. I just looked at the ceiling. I was like, I need to figure this out. There's something more to this game I'm just not getting. And I always knew that for individuals that are high net worth, they value their time so much. They're just very, very particular how they spend their time. You know, they have an assistant, they have their days planned out, they have a schedule. And I'll be the first one to say, like, hey, my days are not planned, man. I wake up and I try to hit the gym. I try to get some meals in. I go to the work, and then I try to, get some videos out for y'all. But I knew I had to figure something out, and I had to do it fast, right? Because time's clicking. And I feel like if you're a young individual, there'll become a point in your life where you definitely begin to question, what you're doing with your time, right? You start to like, you know what? Maybe I should not go out as much. Maybe I should not spend my time with that person that's not doing with anything with their lives, right? It's just some eye-opening events for me. And I had some business partners that they told me, hey, I could never work a 9 to 5. It is a life-sucking job. I've those individuals were like, yeah, I have friends that have 9 to 5s and they hate their life. They wake up every day and on the phone, they'll call me and be like, yeah, I'm going to this job. I hate my life. I wish I could be like you, who taking trips every month. And what was actually like really eye-opening too was this business partner. He explained to me, like, yeah, you got friends, like you'll hit up every year, right? You hit them up everywhere and you're like, hey man, how you been? Let's get this trip. Then you have friends that you're like, hey, let's go book this trip to Cabo. On a 3 days notice, let's go. Or, hey, there's this festival going on. Or, hey, let's go hit up this spot. And they're the kind of friends that are like, yeah, let's book that trip. Yeah, let's book that. Let's go on, let's go first class. Yeah. It's a long trip. I'm going to need to take a little bit of break, take a breather. But the point is that, you have those friends that you can hit up and go wherever in the world at whenever time you want because you have that freedom and you've built that business to a point where you don't have to work a 9 to 5. You don't have to trade your time for money because you have a business model or you have a business that is income producing, or it's just you have enough capital to the point where you don't have to operate at a level where you're like, oh, I have to stick in this one area or stick in this one job for X amount of years so I can retire, or I can make that paycheck, or I can pay off my mortgage, or I can pay off my car, or whatever. The point is like you need to acquire skills to set yourself up and get yourself to a point where you don't have to trade your time for money. Definitely, if you don't have those skills, go get into a business model, go work for a company where you can acquire those skills. Alex Hormozy says it best, right? There is a season of learning and there's a season of earning. Try not to forget which season you're in. If you're blessed that you've had plenty of mentors and plenty of education and you can earn, do it, right? But if there will become points in your time where you're going to look at that and you're like, I don't know something, right? I don't know this business, but I know that it generates a lot of money. I don't know this skill, but I know I need to know it in order to pay the bills. You're going to have to take a step back and definitely bite the bullet. Hey, don't even get paid. If it's a position or a company or a mentorship or whatever that you know is going to pay off in the long run, bite the bullet. Definitely. If you can swing it, you don't have to earn as much in the beginning, right? It might take years. They say it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in something. And I truly, truly believe that. You're going to have to be putting those reps every day. It's going to be the same thing over and over and over. It might get to the point where it's boring, but that's the point. You want to get so good, you can build this business model where you can exit, and you don't have to trade your time for money. If you want to learn about some businesses or how to approach a business, go ahead and watch my last video. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. If you aren't subscribed already, I know who you are. But as always, you are your greatest investment, and persistence breaks the resistance. Thanks.